How's it going, guys? Yo, sorry for the tardiness. I just strolled in from Toronto. So I'm a little all over the place right now. So my name is Naya Ali, if you don't know, and I'm super elated to be hosting this panel on Quebec's hip-hop and R&B within the international market. I think it's a great time to have this conversation. I think it's cool that we create the art and we push the culture forward, but also I think it's important to have these conversations and take a step back and assess and shoot the shits a little bit, right? Right? Okay, so our first guest, Mr. Regardez. Come on down. I think you can sit next to me. I didn't plan out the whole sequencing, but we're just gonna go with the flow, right? That's how we do. We go with the flow. So please.
Am I supposed to take a mic?
Is he supposed to take this mic? I wasn't told. Is it one mic or is it? Oh, it's one mic for everyone. Oh, damn. Okay. Wow.
I guess since I'm the first, I might as well take.
Then you get a mic for yourself. Very good. Very good. Mr. Ricky D.
How you doing?
How are you doing?
I see you doing a lot.
I'm just trying my best.
You better. There's nothing to it but to do it.
Wow. Very good. You want to? I know you very well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell the people a little bit more about yourself?
What is there to say? Been around a long time. Been doing this hip hop thing. This thing we call hip hop. The culture, the love. Been in love since the mid '80s. Decided that this is where I wanted to lay my hat, build my roots, plant my seeds, and watch them grow. And it's been a pleasure watching some fine talent like yourself and others trying to build a community in this tough city. This city's not easy. Started off in the mid-'80s, handing out flyers for some friends of mine. My best friend at that time down in Little Burgundy. So I'm not from NDG and I'm not from Côte-Neige. So just let's put that out there. I'm from Little Burgundy, born and raised. All right. So got nothing against NDG Côte-Neige. I got nothing against some folks. Just want to lay the record straight. So, we don't see something out there saying, Ricky D from NDG, and guys be like, yo, he's not from there. So let me just break that down. Born and raised down there, got into the music because I loved it. But I knew I couldn't sing, I couldn't dance, couldn't rap, couldn't do any of that. So I decided to focus more on the business. So because I started to focus more on the business, I started handing out flyers because my best friend was a DJ at that time. He didn't want to do any of the other stuff. He just wanted to play, meet the chicks, and he was good. And get the bag. That was about it. Where me, I had a different direction, and my direction was to go out there and meet people across all communities, irregardless of their race or nationality or their language, just to meet people. So I started to hand out flyers and meet people one by one. Some I remember throughout the years. Unfortunately, a lot of them I don't because I've met so many people during my journey that I've missed, I forgot some of them. But, it's understandable, right?
As it goes.
As it goes, right? So, continued, got into producing shows. Yep. Did my early show about 86 with Run DMC. My homeboy Gary T came to me. He saw I was a force in the party scene. I was building a real legacy there. I was getting really known in the streets. And he said, would you like to get involved in producing some shows? Didn't know much about it, but I said, hey, if I can make it work in the parties, I can make it work in the concerts.
Well, you've been very pivotal to to Quebec being pushed on the global market. So we're going to touch a little bit more on that a little later.
Okay.
But thank you so much for that great introduction, Ricky.
Okay, cool. All right. I didn't know how far to go. She just put me out there and wound me up. So, you know. You know what I mean? We keep it at 1988 right now. We'll kick it up later.
All right, our next panelist, Vincent Aigret. Come on down. Bonsoir. Ça va bien?
Oui, bonsoir tout le monde.
Enchanté.
Bonsoir Naya, ça fait un moment. Ah, on se croise, hein?
Ouais.
Dernièrement.
On se croise dernièrement.
C'est business.
It's oh, the man. We'll touch on that later.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Salut.
Mon nom est Vincent Aigret. Je suis un réalisateur, un producteur, un metteur en scène. Je suis au Québec à peu près depuis, je sais pas, peut-être 30 ans. Je suis arrivé ici en 95. J'ai commencé mes méfaits dans la musique en 98, suite à une constatation que j'ai eue à un gala de l'adisq que j'ai assisté. À cette époque-là, il y avait très peu de représentation au niveau urbain, musique urbaine. Donc je me suis dit, parce que je suis un peu... Je me suis donné des défis de commencer avec du rap ici. Donc, on a produit les premiers albums Dogmatic. Après, ça a été Redman. Après, ça a été d'autres. Jusqu'à aujourd'hui, le dernier en date, c'est Barnève. Moi, j'ai toujours été... en France, ça avait commencé avec quelques groupes là-bas, Méloman. Je viens de l'époque MC Solar. Je viens de l'époque Ménélique. Donc, c'était des copains en plus. Et j'avais très envie, en fin de compte, en venant ici, en faisant de la musique, de faire des liens avec la France. Donc on a commencé avec Redman, sur leur album Armageddon, à faire venir des artistes français, la Funky Family, la Clica, qui sont des artistes extraordinaires de Marseille. Et puis de fil en aiguille, comme ça, on a continué, on a fait des prods ici. Voilà, en gros... Voilà ce qui se passe à ce niveau-là. Moi, aujourd'hui, je suis toujours un féru de musique. J'ai besoin de ça dans ma vie. J'ai besoin de continuer à faire des prods. J'ai la chance d'avoir des poètes comme Regardez, qui m'inspirent. Dans les shows, c'est pas... On a des gros challenges à prendre ici avec cette forme de musique parce qu'on a affaire à une...
Absolument.
Je pense qu'on a affaire à une société qui résiste malgré les faits. Il résiste à faire rentrer cette forme musicale à un niveau plus important, à leur porter, à les soutenir, à développer surtout. Je pense que c'est là notre travail. Je pense que c'est pour ça qu'on est encore là aujourd'hui, malgré qu'on a fait des tas de choses, mais il faut se battre, il faut continuer, parce que je pense que ça prend des dimensions qui sont plus importantes que la musique. Il y a une implication sociale, on parle beaucoup de, je sais pas, de différence de genre. Je pense que la société québécoise aujourd'hui est ouverte à ça. Puis ça va passer par notre travail, tout simplement. 100%. Ça va passer par nos succès. Ça 100%. Va passer par... aujourd'hui, on est à l'international, on est partout. Donc,
Vincent, je pense que tu touches beaucoup à des points qu'on va vraiment aborder un petit peu plus tard, mais c'est l'ouverture de la société québécoise. Non, c'est vrai.
Mais c'est un plaisir de vous retrouver ce soir. Je suis pas un homme de panel, je suis pas un homme de grande discussion, mais quand je m'emballe, je pars. Voilà.
I'm just trying to reel it in, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to reel it in. This is great, though. We got a lot of things to talk about. Our other panelists, Monsieur David Campana, please step inside the ring. David, I know you very well. Je te connais très bien.
Yes.
Mon boy. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, briefly.
Perfect. Mon nom à moi, c'est David Campana. Je suis artiste à Montréal. Ça fait quelques années que je fais de la musique urbaine, rap, R&B. J'essaie de faire ma place dans cette industrie. Mon objectif, ça a toujours été de bouger à l'international, comme pas mal d'artistes au Québec. Donc, ça a toujours été ma cible, mon objectif. Et depuis ce temps-là, je travaille pour ça. Et Si Dieu le veut, ça va le faire.
Dieu le veut. There you go. Absolutely. Merci, David. Notre dernier panelist, Sonny Black, unfortunately can't be with us tonight. However, we have another very special guest. Mr. Butterbeats is in the building. Please applaudissez.
One, two.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Butter.
Well, it all started in 1980. No, I'm just saying. What's up, Butterbeats? Definitely an Uptown representative, but also not really from here. Definitely a transplant, but have lived and loved in this neighborhood for a long time. Founder of Nomadic Massive, co-founder, I should say, Nomadic Massive. Co-founder of NBS Studios, community studio down the way. And I guess my role or my voice would be from a grassroots perspective, also like an allophone perspective. If you know anything about Nomadic, we're a multilingual super rap group. Play lots of instruments and stuff. So we brought a lot of like instrumentation and different dynamics to stage performances, and we bridged the gap between rap shows and festival performances. And we've been touring regularly, for 20 years now. So we're still active. We just celebrated our 20 years. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, the international market's crazy. It's crazy. And from an independent perspective, like with no label support as well. So we can talk a lot about that.
As we will. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Round of applause for our panelists. Yeah. So they asked me to host this panel discussion, as you say. I think I want to do something a little different. I have, cue cards. I have questions, definitely, But I think what we can do, je pense que qu'est-ce qu'on pourrait faire pour rendre ça comme plus organique, plus intéressant, plus real, how we do it. You know what I mean? I think if you guys want to interject within questions, to have a conversation with people and not just have a conversation with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? You guys down with that? Yeah? So yeah, si vous voulez interagir avec les questions puis tout, il y a un mic derrière, c'est ça? Yuri avec le mic. So yeah, let's start it off. Vincent, Ricky, you guys have been pivotal in, not only being part of the earlier scenes, but really having your hands in it and creating that international recognition for Quebec within, hip-hop and R&B, comme à l'international. What do you feel was like the turning point where Quebec started to get, looked at, per se?
Alors, non, mais je prends des notes parce que j'ai plus de mémoire. Disque dur est plein. Moi, il y a quelques chiffres qui sont importants qu'il faut juste avoir à l'esprit. Okay? Le rap, là, dans le style musical aujourd'hui, dans le monde entier, là, c'est devenu la première sorte musicale. Okay? C'est la première chose. Je regarde en 2023, les CNM annoncent en disque d'or, platine ou diamant pour 149 artistes. Okay? C'est hyper important quand même. Soit un nombre d'artistes certifiés en hausse de 39% par rapport à 2021. Okay? Fait majeur, le rap représente 38% des nouveautés certifiées, devient ainsi le genre musical qui domine l'export. Okay? Ça, c'est la réalité on the world. Okay? 8% des nouveautés certifiées sont des artistes féminines seulement. En France, les revenus du streaming ont atteint 328 millions d'euros au premier semestre 2024. Ça, c'est la France. Okay? Avec près de 28 milliards d'écoutes ont été faites sur les plateformes en 2023. Et à la tête du genre musicaux, évidemment, au Québec, et les services, la musique populaire et R&B, c'est 29%.
OK. Mais qu'est-ce que tu penses quel moment ou les moments qui étaient plus comme marquants, qu'ils ont fait qu'on commençait à reconnaître le Québec à l'international, côté R&B, côté hip-hop? Dans ta carrière, qu'est-ce que tu as vu, qu'est-ce que tu as remarqué?
Moi, j'ai beaucoup aimé les années 2000. Parce
Okay.
que les années 2000, au Québec, il y avait une je pense qu'il y avait une ouverture d'esprit qui était qu'il n'y avait pas eu avant, tout simplement. Il y avait des groupes comme Band 23000, il y a eu Domatic, il y a eu Lassa, et il y avait une circulation, je dirais, des talents. En même temps, autre chose, c'est qu'il y a eu des échanges qui se sont faits avec la France, avec des artistes en France. Donc ça a énormément aidé de faire connaître des artistes. Regarde, des Corneille, des gens comme ça ont signé en France. Urbaine a signé en France chez V2 à l'époque, qui était le label de Bronson. Il se passait quelque chose. Okay? La différence qu'il y a eu aujourd'hui, c'est que le rap, c'est pour moi scindé avec le rap Queb, okay? Qui est une particularité avec le joual et tout ça. Et donc, plus difficile à amener en France. Et quand je dis la France, c'est la francophonie. Hein.
Ouais.
C'est plus difficile aujourd'hui.
Yeah.
Je trouve que les artistes anglophones ont eu plus d'impact, je trouve, en ce moment, ont plus d'impact, tout simplement, que les artistes francophones. Ils participent aux États-Unis.
Plus d'impact dans quel sens?
Ben, je pense que beaucoup d'artistes se sont fait reconnaître et puis on fait des échanges avec des artistes soit canadiens ou américains. Donc je pense que l'impact va être plus important de ce côté-là.
Gotcha.
Au Québec, c'est en train de se fermer. Tout est en train de se fermer ici. Je ne sais pas pour vous, mais...
Well, how do you guys? I'll get to you, Ricky. How do you guys feel about it? Do you feel like it's closing here, or it's closed? Attends, je vais prendre le mic. J'ai rien entendu. Qu'est-ce que t'as dit?
Est-ce qu'il n'y a peut-être pas une baisse du follow-up local?
Qu'est-ce que tu veux dire du follow-up?
Parce que les gens de Montréal, ils ont des téléphones, ils ont TikTok, on peut voir la musique de partout sur Terre. Est-ce qu'il y a peut-être moins de gens qui s'intéressent au rap de Montréal?
C'est local.
Ouais.
C'est une bonne question.
Ouais.
On va laisser Ricky touch, unless you want to answer that question.
It's up to you.
Yeah, you answer that question.
Well, just to further on what you just said before,
Yeah. We'll get to it.
I felt that when it came to the Anglophone side, the guy who made the most splash from here was Can Do at that time when he was with the Beat Factory with EMI, and he ended up winning the Juno, which I thought was going to open up the Anglophone hip-hop market more to the rest of Canada, you know, seeing what was going on inside of Quebec when it came to English rap. When it came to the Francophone side, I saw it, things really started to get interesting when Vincent and them had Domatic and Mosaïen, and these groups were starting to come about, and they started to make some serious noise here and started selling some serious records, where that then led to the guys like the Camaros and the Cornets and these guys getting some looks from Europe because they saw what Quebec rap and R&B can do on the French side over in Europe. So then these guys got the shot. They went over and turned it out. The biggest mistake is that they had nothing to follow up with. They were too into themselves, and they didn't really have a game plan. And the game plan should have been, they should have had 2, 3, 4 artists in the pipeline ready to turn out at a moment's notice while the attention was focused on them, which then they could have turned them all out and then really start to build some sort of real energy over in Europe. And the same thing when it came to Camdu. When he made his mark, you know, this is when B Factory should have said, wow, Quebec did this. Let me come in there and mine for some more and grab some of these other guys, which would have encouraged some of the major labels to come on board and start to do their thing.
I think that's very interesting. It's kind of, we're going to touch on your question real quick, but I think it's kind of like the way that, you know, if you take a city like Atlanta, how they created, like, you know, they had their own subculture first, and it's very, like, everybody's connected with each other, and everybody puts each other on. And I think that could have been a pivotal thing at that time when the momentum was being built to really connect with each other, and, like, people that are, you know, doing things and going up to bring each other up, so that there can be like a follow-up to that momentum.
Yeah, you know,
right?
at least build a camp.
Right.
You know, maybe you might not like the next man or the next woman, but, you know, build a real camp of people behind you. That's the key thing, right? If that would have happened, and, you know, when Vincent was back then, he was shooting these videos, come up with some hot videos when videos were really cool. He was one of the early guys to get into that game,
Right.
and started to turn it out and bring the visual aspect along with the music. And then from there, it helped guys like myself to take it to the streets to sell it in order to bring it into the room and have people come in and want to buy into it.
That's very interesting. I think I have a question after, but like, is there a way to replicate that now, like in the current state right now?
Absolutely, but you need somebody to have the presence of mind in terms of what they're doing. What's happening right now is that a lot of people coming out of this province don't really got a real story behind them in terms of lining up their people. So when they do get some success, it comes as a shock and a surprise, and they're fully immersed into it. It's like building a house. Before you start building, you got to really have a plan on what you're doing. Because once you start building, you can't stop midway and say, well, I'm going to add a building there, I'm going to add this here, I'm going to add this here. You can't do that. You got to have it all laid out, so now you're just rolling. And that's part of having a team of people advising you.
Right.
A lot of artists and artist management don't have the proper teamwork behind them. But that's another
Definitely, absolutely.
conversation.
Let's touch on your question. David, je pense que tu avais une réponse. Juste pour répéter la question, je pense que tu as demandé est-ce
Non,
que...
t'inquiète, je m'en souviens.
Ben, c'est juste pour le crowd.
Ah, ok, yeah, of course. J'allais la répéter. Non, mais j'allais la répéter.
OK, vas-y, répète-la.
En gros, ce que tu demandais, c'est est-ce que tu trouves comme ça qu'il y a une baisse de follow-up des gens de Montréal envers la musique d'ici? Il y a beaucoup de choses, en fait. Il y a eu deux mouvements musicaux qui sont arrivés, je pense, dans les dernières années. Je pense qu'il y a le mouvement que vous avez parlé avec Corneille et Dommatic, qui a été comme une porte d'entrée sur le marché français avec Camaro, etc. Mais je pense que la première chose qui a eu comme vraiment un impact que je dirais négatif, c'est que en France aussi, il y avait un impact. Et à un moment donné, c'est quand tu viens d'ailleurs et que tu t'en vas sur un terrain autre, la culture là-bas, ben, ils vont donner de la force à leurs artistes. Puis au final, c'est une compétition. Donc, ce qui arrive, c'est que quand tu t'en vas dans un pays et que ta communauté n'est pas assez forte, déjà, le nombre de personnes qu'on a au Québec, je parle juste du Québec parce que le English side du Canada, je ne le connais pas vraiment à part Toronto. Mais sinon, si on parle du Québec, on n'a pas beaucoup de nombre. Et dans la culture québécoise, la porte qu'ils ont... en fait, déjà, la culture québécoise a un problème avec l'anglais. Mais je veux revenir à la base de la musique urbaine. La base de la musique urbaine, elle est afro-américaine. C'est important de le mentionner parce que le fait que le Québec a un problème avec l'anglais, ils ont refusé un peu la culture américaine. Mais dans la culture américaine, il y a impliquement la culture afro-américaine. Donc, toute cette haine de l'anglais fait en sorte qu'il y a eu comme un rejet aussi de cette culture. Quand tu entends quelqu'un qui rejette Usher à la télévision en disant qu'il a comme un hit et qu'il ne comprend pas pourquoi il fait le Super Bowl, tu sais à quel point la culture québécoise a un genre de blocus face à cette culture-là. Donc, à partir de ce moment-là, quand tu as des artistes qui partent d'ici et qui s'en vont à l'international, c'est comme si la culture d'ici va les abandonner là-bas. Donc, ces artistes-là se retrouvent tout seuls là-bas face à des artistes qui ont une communauté qui est très forte en France et qui les supporte. À un moment donné, c'est dur à soutenir, surtout comme ça que si à la maison, les labels ici, ils n'ont pas les fonds nécessaires pour dépenser autant. Tu as dit qu'ils faisaient beaucoup d'argent en France, mais ils dépensent énormément d'argent aussi pour leurs artistes. Et les montants sont tellement différents. Comme donné, c'est sûr que Corneille, même s'il avait un grand succès, les gens ont toujours pensé que Corneille était français. Ils n'ont jamais su qu'il venait de Montréal. Encore, j'ai des amis français qui pensent que Corneille est français. Donc, à partir de ce moment-là, c'est que moi, j'ai un de mes amis qui répète souvent, tant que les jeunes de la ville de Montréal, dans leur top 5, ils n'ont pas au moins 3 à 4 artistes de Montréal qu'ils aiment et que c'est eux leurs artistes préférés, le rap et la musique urbaine à Montréal aura énormément de difficultés. Ça, c'est pour répondre à ta question. Aujourd'hui, il y a eu les médias sociaux qui sont arrivés en 2008. L'arrivée des médias sociaux a comme fait en sorte qu'il y a comme une augmentation des niches dans la musique urbaine. l'augmentation des niches fait que le public s'est encore plus découpé. Et encore plus découpé, ça veut dire comme ça que pour un artiste qui émerge, ça va être encore plus difficile pour lui d'aller se faire une fanbase. Et tout est là. Il faut que les artistes se développent une fanbase. Souvent, les artistes visent extrêmement gros, visent des gros marchés, mais oublient comme ça que c'est hyper important d'avoir un petit marché derrière toi qui te supporte réellement. Parce que ce petit marché-là, c'est celui qui va permettre que tu vas grandir, que tu vas pouvoir survivre quand les autres vont t'abandonner. Le père de Michael disait quelque chose de vraiment vrai. Il disait toujours aux artistes noirs, ne crachez jamais sur la culture black parce que quand les blancs ne vous écouteront plus, ce sera eux qui vous écouteront. Ils vous écouteront toujours. Soit à la fin de la journée, le problème du Québec, c'est que le rap Queb, la playlist rap Queb, c'est un ramassis de tout et n'importe quoi parce qu'en soi... No, but that's true. That's true. La playlist rap Queb, c'est juste un label. Ils font la même chose en ce moment avec le R&B. Ils vont probablement faire une playlist R&B Queb. Le R&B n'est pas québécois. C'est pas québécois. Et ce truc de vouloir toujours se rattacher à la culture québécoise qui n'a pas créé le R&B.
OK.
Sorry.
No. That's it. I feel the...
Sorry.
I feel the pain.
Naya, je voudrais juste porter,
vas-y.
quand même, moi je suis un homme de chiffres, les taux de fréquentation des Québécois pour la musique québécoise, Spotify, c'est 5%. 5%. Donc, il y a quelque chose qui se passe quelque part, là. C'est bizarre. On revendique, tu parles de rap keb, on revendique tout ça, mais c'est 5%. Et tout le reste, là, les jeunes, ils écoutent Taylor Swift, machin, c'est autre chose. Là. Donc, on a un véritable problème par rapport à ça. On peut donner des... Je sais pas, j'ai une idée, on ferait ça. Ben, les chiffres, c'est ça. C'est ça le problème.
OK. Ce panel-là, you know, like I said, I want it to be a real conversation. I don't think you've been to a panel like this before. I think we can say like controversial things, which is fine. I think we should make it a safe space if you want to speak your mind. On va se dire les vraies affaires ici. Puis, quote me on this, I don't care. You know what I mean? I think, David, you also touched on a very interesting point. Let's talk about R&B in Quebec. Avec l'addition du prix album R&B de l'année à la disque. I think there's a lot to unpack there, if you guys agree. Est-ce que vous avez regardé qui a gagné?
Peut-être juste une petite parenthèse. Je veux juste dire que oui, c'est un safe space, mais ça risque d'être un podcast.
OK.
Merci, Yuri.
OK. I'm still going to say it, though. puis c'est pas pour enlever quelque chose à quelqu'un, puis à des artistes, parce que je suis une artiste aussi, puis je reconnais le travail, puis l'effort, puis la créativité que ça prend, puis la passion. Puis ça, c'est quelque chose que je respecte énormément. Mais aussi, comme je pense aussi que c'est important de vraiment, je ne sais pas si protéger, c'est le mot, mais c'est vraiment prendre conscience de comme, tu sais, la culture R&B, la culture hip-hop in Québec, tu sais. Je pense qu'il y a une différence entre la culture québécoise hip-hop puis la culture hip-hop au Québec, right? So I think an artist like myself and David are, you know, hip-hop culture within Quebec, right? And I feel like, est-ce que vous, en tant qu'audience, est-ce que vous avez des artistes top 5 locaux que vous aimez, ou c'est plus comme vous regardez ailleurs parce que vous ne sentez pas une connexion avec qu'est-ce qu'il y a dans la ville? Je vous pose une question comme ça.
Quelqu'un veut prendre la parole?
Ah, il y a un mic ici.
J'arrive.
Attends, il arrive.
So, yeah, all I wanted to say was that, touching on an important point that you're saying, is that what I think a lot of artists in Montreal or people, fans, let's say, who listen to music, I think Montreal has a very big advantage as to bringing a certain style of music. Let's say they want to do R&B or they're doing hip-hop. Well, you got a lot of different artists from different backgrounds and different cultures who obviously play a big role in contributing to that art and that their own identity and bringing that into the forward stage for their fans to listen to. But I also think that you're right that it's a little tougher when you don't have per se like the fan base and the people behind you or the team, you know, because nowadays a lot of artists are going independent, but they still don't have all of the tools in order to expand that part of themselves, which is, you know, what a lot of us either struggle with or that we're trying to build per se, because those are the pillars that like David Campana said, that are going to get people behind you. Let's say if you're going to uncharted territories, like for example, like I'm Spanish Portuguese, but let's say like if I go to Spain and I start making like Latino music and whatever and things are bumping, well, if I don't got Montreal supporting me, then it could only go so far, you know. But it's definitely something that I think as an independent artist, I'm trying to definitely bring more forward into the Montreal community and the whole music scene, and you know, going back to the roots and such.
Very interesting. Definitely. Yeah, actually, I was gonna give you the.
Just from a perspective of like what we call the allophone, you know, like Autres Langues, you know, when you have your like when you come in as an immigrant to Quebec, they're like, what language do you speak? You speak English or French? And then they have the little box that says Autres Langues, so you click the Autres Langues. And we, you know, in our perspective, we were a multilingual group, so we had Haitian Creole, we had Espanol, we had you know, Maghrebi Arabic, English and French all kind of mashed up, Caribbean patois as well. And we had to create our own scene because we were sandwiched in between the Anglo and the Franco scene when there had been a real decline in black music in Quebec. And then there was like the local grassroots sort of stuff that was bubbling up. It's like the era of like Sans Pression or whatever, the early 2000s. So then there was a resurgence of interest, a lot of other stuff that was happening as well, obviously, on the streets. And but the bars were open, and the clubs, the local clubs and venues were open to it. And as you might know, you know, most of the venues on the main, which was our main thoroughfare, you know, I could play like 4 shows as a gigging musician in one night within like, you know, a 15-block radius. So I was able to create an economy for myself as a musician, as a gigging musician. But then as a group, we were really able to continuously do shows and cultivate. Montreal is also a transient city because we have, you know, 4 of the largest universities in Quebec, in Canada, I should say. So you get, you know, people that stay here for like 4 years. They only live in the plateau. They don't know Uptown. They don't know DG. They don't know Montreal Nord. They're just like, Montreal is such a beautiful city. I love this place. Like they've only gone past Montreal and they've only gone below St. Catherine. You know, like so their perspective is also skewed. So it's not a real local fan base. So you have to be careful about that. Like we have a very transient city. We're a cosmopolitan, constantly in flux, and then you have the language debate and you have the political establishment that's against black music, like just general. That's a general thing. We can't deny it. So all that is a potpourri of disaster, right? And miscommunication, and so
I think there's still
but and you were talking about the R&B thing, like it's late, right? Like how is it crazy?
Yeah.
And I'll give you another example. 375th anniversary of Montreal. Remember they did that big publicity of like Ma Montréal, j'aime Montréal. They did these $5 million, $10 million they spent on it. They had a whole bunch of starlets from Montreal, but it was all white Quebecois. They didn't show one Haitian, not one Algerian, not one Filipino, not one Jamaican, not one Latino. Like that's the Montreal that I know, you know? And it's very easy to see. Like you can't go anywhere anymore in Montreal and see like maybe Hochelaga in like certain coins, you know, like
of course.
Beside Frontenac Metro, but that's about it. You know? And that's you go then you would go to their website and it'd be like who's the funding body, who are all the decision makers? It's all middle-aged white francophones, right? Yeah, of course.
Ouais, mais
But
sorry, if I can interject, like, je pense que c'est comme the age-old question, comme, pour de vrai, j'entends ça comme depuis des années, we have to get together, we have to come together. Comme, ouais, mais yo, ça fait comme 25 ans qu'on we have to get together, you know what I'm saying? Mais comme, je pense... No, and I'm just saying. I'm about to start a riot. I'm a riot. I'm sorry. Mais je pense que... mais je pense que comme... I think there's something... There's hope. And I think there's something budding. And j'ai une question pour David. Si on parle de la musique R&B au Québec, what do you think defines the sound right now for you?
Truth is, like, tous les artistes R&B de Montréal sont francophones, sont extrêmement underground. Like, comme vraiment underground. Like, they don't know, like, what's happening. They just did it. Like, it's like, it just happened. Like, I don't, like, je sais, I think that c'est plus une volonté de la culture noire de Montréal d'avoir voulu faire ce mouvement-là et qui se sont battus vraiment fort, Advance d'ailleurs, ils se sont battus vraiment fort pour faire ça. Mais je pense que l'adisq ne comprend pas en fait qu'est-ce que ça veut dire en fait. Et pour eux, c'est juste une autre musique. Ils savent même pas, tu sais, comme.
Mais je pense pas que c'est comme.
Mais c'est pas volontaire.
C'est pas volontaire.
C'est pas volontaire. Mais ce qui est intéressant, c'est parce qu'il faut qu'on. Non mais. Parce que, en fait, moi, je veux faire le parallèle, j'aime ça faire le parallèle avec la France. Parce que souvent, on dit, ouais, mais regardez la France, ça fonctionne et tout. Mais la France, ils l'ont imposé, tu comprends, par la force du nombre.
Exactement.
Ils l'ont subi. C'est pas comme si tu vas en France aujourd'hui. Moi, j'ai des contacts qui sont dans les labels aujourd'hui. Puis encore aujourd'hui, tu as des middle-age qui travaillent dans les labels en France. Leurs artistes, les artistes blacks, c'est eux qui font plus de ventes dans leurs labels. Et quand ils sont en secret entre eux, ils disent... Putain, on est tanné de travailler pour ces artistes. Tu comprends? Encore aujourd'hui, un jour, la pop, elle reviendra, la pop francophone, la pop française va revenir. Et ils ont encore cette image. Donc, c'est juste qu'ils le subissent. Le Québec va probablement vivre la même chose. À moins que, ce qu'ils sont en train de faire d'ailleurs, ils limitent l'immigration. Parce que c'est une force du nombre. La culture, la culture black, elle est déjà là. La culture hispanophone est déjà là. La culture, les langages, la manière de parler. Même si tu n'es pas à Montréal, tu vas à Québec, les expressions de langage ressemblent beaucoup à celles de Montréal. Tu comprends?
Of course. Comme, on a tellement de reach dans la culture québécoise.
Exact.
Tu sais, comme il y a des gens qui parlent créole, qui viennent du Saguenay. Là.
Voilà, ils sont prêts. Like, Souban, quand il jouait pour Canadien de Montréal, moi, mes amis, on adorait Souban, mais on n'avait pas d'argent pour s'acheter le maillot de Souban. Ceux qui achetaient le maillot de Souban, c'était Ginette de la ville d'en haut, puis tout. Ils sont prêts pour ça. C'est juste qu'il y a des instances, puis c'est ça le problème, c'est tout le lien avec les subventions, puis le système comme...
Ça, c'est un autre... C'est
important, non, mais c'est vraiment un lien. Il y a un lien direct, en fait, parce que if we had like a private label with a lot of money that was like thriving in the urban scene, probably things would have been different. Parce que tu sais, The Weeknd, il est de Gatineau.
Ouais, mais...
Ils ont investi in private labels.
Oui, ils ont investi dans private labels, mais ça vient d'argent de who knows.
I know. But je veux pas aller là, mais je veux juste dire que le fait que les subventions sont vraiment grosse part de l'artisterie fait en sorte que à la fin de la journée, it's political.
I think it's a double-edged sword, but we'll touch on that after, but it's a double-edged sword. I think we have a question in the back.
Yeah, and it was more a comment and a question. You talked about la force des nombres. So Montreal, a lot of the challenges that you guys have brought up have been kind of like Montreal being in its own market within Quebec. And I just wonder, we're half the population almost of Quebec here in Montreal. So we all know the challenges, but I wonder to you guys, what does it look like if Montreal really took its power culturally? As an independent culture. Because we know that it is.
Who is your question addressed to?
To the panel.
Okay.
What would that look like?
Well, that's part of, that was like kind of our mandate, to be honest. There was a mythology about you'd have to leave Montreal and blow up to come back that's when you're going to get love from Montreal. That was a big problem for us, but we also recognized the language divisions and all the things that we're talking about, all the issues. But as an independent group, we stuck together. We're an expansive community, multi-genre, multilingual, female MCs, expansive, and we just took it to the road. And everywhere we go, bro, honestly, we kill shows. But the first time that Montreal put us on was in 2007. The Festival International, you know, the Jazz de Montréal. They told us the guy who booked us, he said we were the first like urban act since Dogmatique, which had been in 1990, probably 1995 or 98, yeah. So there had been a 10-year gap already between on like an open stage, open air festival. Whereas now when you go to festivals, it's like it permeates everywhere, right? And you have to do it in microcosms, because if you're not doing any of the community work, like, and you're expecting it to happen magically, that's an issue that you got to do with yourself. If you are doing the community work, then like keep on doing the community work, and also keep on making great content and output, and then doing all the things that he's talking about.
It's how you define success, and what is your goals in doing this music game. So, you know, in the world of doing the music, it's all a game, and it depends on how you want to play it and what you want to get out of it. Some people are comfortable staying here, doing their thing and building their legend where they stand. Some take their show on the road, come back as winners. Some come back as losers. But it's all how you feel about yourself and how you apply yourself to it. I find that in Montreal, we get it stuck in our heads that if we can't do it here, we can't do it there. If we go there, then we can't do it here, and all of that. You just got to go with your flow and the way you feel, because your inner self will speak to you if you listen. But you got to listen, and you got to be quiet and listen. Sometimes we got too much music in our heads, and what comes out is a whole bunch of music. And sometimes you just hear that clear beat and that clear vibe, and you're on your way. So just take your time and approach life like that, and learn to listen to yourself and take quiet moments and ask yourself before you go to bed. Talk to yourself, close your eyes, and most of the time when you get up, the answer will be there for you. Trust me. It's happened to
Sometimes.
me.
Je voulais juste ajouter une chose à ce qu'a dit David. Le Québec a une particularité pour moi, là. C'est le nombre de personnes qui sont ici. Et deuxième chose, c'est le bilinguage. C'est ça le problème. Okay? Et l'autre partie qui a un problème, c'est le modèle qui est fait ici pour subventionner et produire. C'est ça le problème. Tu vois, en France,
Mais
moi,
est-ce que c'est... Attends, Vincent, I'm going to challenge you on that. Because oui, je pense que ça pourrait être un problème, mais ça pourrait être un avantage aussi, parce que tu vas aux States, les gens, ils ont faim. Right. If you want to succeed, you have to hustle like there's no tomorrow. And if you don't, you starve. Mais ici, it's a double-edged sword. We have programs. On a des programmes de subvention. They don't have that in the States.
Ouais, mais
They don't have that in the States.
c'est à double tranchant. Parce
C'est
que,
à double tranchant.
Parce que le problème, on parlait en France, ils sont tenus à avoir des résultats dans les labels. Ouais. Ils sont tenus d'avoir des résultats. Ici, les labels ne sont pas tenus d'avoir des résultats en termes de vente. I'm sorry. Si tu enlèves... Ouais. Non, mais ce que je veux dire là-dessus, quand tu mets ton propre argent sur une production, ça m'est arrivé. Ricky aussi, ça t'arrive. C'est à risque. Tu vas travailler fort, mais tu vas te challenger. Si tu enlèves la plupart des subventions à des labels qui font 200 copies, 150 copies par an, dans 10 ans, là, même pas 2 ans, ils vont tous disparaître. Il va rester les bons. Ça va bosser. Le problème, c'est le modèle. Le modèle ne fonctionne pas. Parce qu'au final, combien gagne un artiste? Les artistes, je ne sais pas c'est quoi les salaires, c'est 16 000 $ par an là, pour qu'ils mangent. C'est à peu près ça. Je pense que le système qui est fait actuel ne subventionne pas l'artiste. Je pense qu'il fait marcher la machine. That's it. Et dans la mesure où les radios ne suivent pas derrière en plus, man, c'est quoi? On va où? Yeah. On vit avec Sirius. I'm sorry. Puis, Et pour revenir à ce qu'il disait tout à l'heure aussi, moi, la catégorie, ça c'était pour ce que tu disais, la catégorie R&B qui est arrivée et tout, cette année et tout, je vais passer à travers. J'en ai parlé avec le soir même de la catégorie, on était en nomination, on a vécu ça en live. J'avais parlé avec Yuri. Moi, le plus important pour moi, c'est qu'on nous a ouvert la porte pour une nouvelle possibilité de mettre nos productions.
Oui, exactement.
Okay? Et je le vois comme ça. Je ne vais pas venir en arrière, je ne vais pas
100%.
me battre contre tout ça.
Non, non.
Regarde, ça fait 20 ans qu'on est là-dedans, ça fait 20 ans
100%.
qu'on se bat, c'est toujours la même histoire. Mais je pense que c'est une opportunité.
C'est définitivement une opportunité because the door is open now. It's up to us. It's up to us to create that. This is my take. It's up to us to create that ecosystem. I just came from Toronto and I had a great conversation with like a heavy hitter in Toronto, and like the market in Toronto is not perfect, but they have an ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? They have an ecosystem for hip hop and R&B. They have like this thing called You Should Know or something. So it's like this monthly or bi-monthly event where these heavy hitters in the city put artists that they believe should be put on, and they have a show every like 2 months, and it's like a surprise act. You just have to hold on. So you come to the venue, and then it's like artists that should be put on, and then you discover them there, and there's that ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about having a market, you know, black music taking more space, but are we even creating that space for ourselves? We have a question in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, Tagans.
What up? My name is Tagans. I'm a hip-hop Afro artist. Born in Uptown, raised in DG. So I'm home.
Yep.
Y'all are speaking about something that I was inherently a part of. I am part of Advanced Quebec. My role was to actually mine the data to start the whole process of the R&B category at adisq. And I started that project, shout out Whitney Bonfils, he put me on in late 2022. And that gave me a huge eye-opener. David asked, was it David? No, I think it was not you, asked someone asked a question about the sound of R&B. That gave me an eye-opener in a sense where, and some of y'all touched upon it in different perspectives, in different ways, most of the R&B artists are doing what they can based on what they have, based on where they come from, and there's no tight-knit formula of success where that people from our background can really understand and replicate, or at least continue with success, as opposed to the States where there's several, depending on where you're at. There's the Ushers, there's the Chris Browns, there's some kind of repeated formula where people can say, okay, at least we have at least there's a lane, and those who have access to certain people that have contributed to that success, they can probably have access to. It's not a lot of that happening here. And the other thing is that I was listening to a lot of music when I was putting that data together, and the R&B acts, a lot of it was misrepresented. Whether it's by the label sending their bad metadata, so that's a problem on us and artists who have to make sure the info we're sending makes sense. But also, the entities that receive the music, maybe they don't have a check mark bar that says R&B, so they put everything in pop or urban pop. And I had to recategorize that. Be like, no, this is not pop. This is R&B. In fact, this is R&B soul. I'm even adding you to soul. Matter of fact, this is trap. This is R&B trap. This is like clearly this person was influenced by Bryson Tiller. You know, this somebody who clearly listens to Erykah Badu. Like that gave me a real perspective on like, okay, a lot of these artists are just doing what they can based on the success that they know. A lot of that success is not from here. So the sound, there's no tight-knit sound. I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing that is real. And now those who are in position to really commit and drive the culture forward, we have the chance to try and take all of that, because all that is not bad energy. We take that and we really combine with what we have here. I think now we're at the precipice of defining what a sound can be, that people afterwards can be like, yo, now I just got an R&B category, and this is, let's say 15 years later, after 3, 4, 5, I knew it was not going to be perfect. We created the blueprint. It's never perfect. But the goal is every year gets refined. The goal is every year the categories and the people get refined. The people that were dropping music can now know, yo, I got to drop before March, because then that way my shit can be eligible next year for the category.
Right.
I got to, and now I know based on last year, this is what these people had, this is how the crowd reacted. I know exactly what I'm going to give them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's what I want to say. Those are my 2 cents. So thank you guys. Y'all have amazing panel, amazing discussion. I just want to put that out there.
A lot of gems were dropped. I have a question for Ricky, my guy. You've been in this game for a minute. You brought a lot of international acts to the city. You've been pivotal in creating that bridge with the U.S. to Quebec, to Montreal. Maybe I'm going to get controversial. And please forgive me for this. Do you feel like you've done enough for the local, super talented artists here by using your platform, by using, not your platform, your resources and what you created, what you helped create? For example, when you bring these great international American acts, why not have a top local act opening for them all the time?
That's a great question. That's a really, really good question. And I respect that. I respect that a lot. You know, growing up in the business like I have, you have certain protocols. You have certain latitudes in terms of the things you can and cannot do. Depending on the artist, depending on their status, how high up they are, you have less influence in terms of dictating what you can do on the stage. The stage becomes more of theirs and less of yours. So a lot of times as you move up into bigger rooms, into bigger venues, you're not allowed to. Because the artist wants to either showcase their people or they don't want anybody else getting any shine off of them. The only time they let it happen is in 2 situations. Show's not doing well, and now they need support, and they figured if they can tap in to the local artists, they'll get some shine. And another time is when the promoter has the ability to bring them on. Like I've done in the past when I brought Nomadic Massive on with Black Star. And, you know, like when I have the power to do it, then I do it. When I don't, I have to follow protocol. Because the minute I don't do it, guess where they go? They go to Evenco.
Of course.
They go to Greenland. They go to Neon. And these guys, especially these days, you know, because hip-hop is no longer, you know, for the thugs and for the real purists. It's for the suburbs, right? And let's keep it 100. So, you know, you got all these kids coming from the suburbs that are willing to drop their coin in the room. But a lot of those kids are the sons and daughters of the VPs and the higher management in these companies who now have to deal with the realization that their kids like this music too. And now they gotta fuck with it, where before they didn't. So sometimes I'm able to get them in. Sometimes I can't because, you know, it's been hard enough just being me and me alone. It's not like I got a lot of help out here. So because I'm not surrounded by the right amount of people, it becomes even more difficult. But I do get them through at times. But not when it gets into the Bell Center shows, you know, when it gets in, even some shows like in Olympia, Metropolis, and these size shows, you don't get you. And not all the time does everybody who's deserving of it gets in either, because they might have their demands. They might not want to be positioned in a certain way, which they find is counterproductive to their ascent, to where they want to go. So sometimes it's not meeting eye to eye with the artist that, you know, the local artist that wants to get in on there, but necessarily doesn't want to get in, but does want to get in. And
I get that.
you know,
I get that.
get the struggle.
I get the struggle. I get it. Yeah, for sure.
Just as
Thank
an
you.
anecdote, like of being like put on to like a bigger show, we were on a high ascension. Like we were kind of, I guess I would say we were at our peak of like local popularity, and we were touring regularly outside of Canada and across Canada. And we got asked to do the Wyclef show in Club Soda. It was like 3 days, and we were like, "Fuck yes, amazing!" Right? Because we were labeled as kind of like a world, because we're like multilingual. We're not rap enough for like the statistics or even the metadata. They'll call us world music, you know. And any kind of world showcase or whatever, they're like, well, they're like we don't like rap, but we like you guys. And you're like, no, motherfucker, no. And so we were pumped. We were like, okay, this is a good crossover. Like this is, you know, Wyclef is kind of like an internationalist kind of, you know, sub kind of hip hop, I guess, if you will, if you take out the Fugees. And so we did the shows, and we were super happy. But after the first show, we realized, and so this is like, it's a double-edged sword. We realized people weren't really like as into our shows as normally, and we were like wondering. And then my boy calls me over after I did the second show, and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And I was like, "No, how's the show? How's the show? Is it good?" People were like acting funny. He's like, "No, you couldn't hear it." We're like, "What?" He's like, "Bro, the fucking volume was low. It was low as shit. Like I couldn't hear you from I walked in the room, and like system's fucking big, you know." And then when Wyclef would come on, it would be like, "Boo!" So and then we went back to the promoter. I don't know who it was. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. I promise. It wasn't you. It was I don't remember. I think it was Vancouver. Anyways, it was one of like the bigger, nastier fish. And in the contract, we didn't realize, but it said in like we had to play at a certain decibel range lower than Wyclef, because our shows were blazing. Like it was like an hour, like hit him on the head with a hammer, and we couldn't believe it.
I think. Do we have a question in the back?
Oh, I do have a question, but I feel like it's circling back on what we were talking about before. So maybe finish what you're already doing, and then I can interject.
Yeah. Anyway,
Let's finish that.
I'm pretty much done on that.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Yeah.
you know, and even example what he just said there, where they'll play with the sound, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a contract. It's an unwritten rule
I get that.
and protocol with a lot of these artists and technicians to play with the sound of the support. And even when you tell them as a promoter, and I went and told some of these technicians, raise up the volume, what would they do? Bring it down. Because they're just subconsciously trained in order to do that. It takes a lot to get them there. And this is why I would recommend to always bring your own sound guy.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say.
You know,
that's what I get.
but again,
Number one rule, bring your own sound guy. Absolutely.
That, you know, that requires either dedication or funds in order to support. When you talk about subventions here, subventions are controlled by a few record labels that are here that control them. And a lot of record artists, especially right now in the French scene, because the French scene is popping more, because let's keep it 100. You know, Montreal is a French town, it's pretty much as you can see. You know, there are Anglophone rappers, there's Francophone rappers who front as Anglophone rappers for the sake of it, but would be actually better in French than they would in English. But for some reason, they got in their heads, they're a better Anglophone rapper. So they do their thing.
Not talking about me.
I don't know. Are you Francophone?
No. Maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know. You'd have to tell me.
Yeah.
You know?
From Montreal.
But the reality of it is that what ends up happening is that they get these subventions. So the guys that are out there that are not plugged into it can't get access to that money because that money's there. And then the Americans look at Canadians and they say, Canadian content, CanCon. And they say the only reason why you're on is because the government put you on. So therefore, you are not equal to me as an artist. So when you come out of Canada and you try to reach into America And then another problem that a lot of Canadian artists don't realize, and I ran into that when I had a guy named Ricky J. And American labels do not like to sign Canadian artists if they're on a Canadian division of theirs. So in my case, Ricky J was on Warner Music Canada. I went to Atlantic Records. You had Lava Records there, Kid Rock, Uncle Cracker's label. Came time, we were going to do a deal with them. They wanted Warner Music Canada to release him to them because the parent label gets all the money. So if they blow him up in the States, it's not the States that's getting the money. It's Canada. Wherever you're signed to gets the money. A lot of these guys don't want to go and invest the millions of dollars it takes in marketing to get you to that level of success, only to give it to somebody else. They want to collect it. So for all yous out there that have aspirations on signing deals, you know, don't sign here per se to those kind of labels. If you do a deal, you do a deal locally. That way you keep yourself free to the world so you can go and negotiate deals, you can get out. Or start your own label.
David, boy, I think that's, yeah, so we can give a round of applause for that. Yeah, definitely.
En gros, je voulais revenir à ce que tu disais tantôt par rapport à la culture et faire un lien avec ce que Ricky disait, parce qu'en fait, c'est qu'il faut absolument prendre en compte que être un artiste, c'est pas un métier. Ben, c'est un métier, oui, mais c'est pas... People that like you, they don't like you because you're doing, like, you're a singer. They like you because you bring something on the table, like une lumière or your hope or anything, but like you make them feel something, so you're special. Et le modèle québécois doesn't bring that to the artist. They're just workers in labels. They don't even have to have the best album of the year. They just need to get the grant. So that take out from some light on you. So les gens de la ville, ils ont moins envie de t'écouter parce que t'es pas une star. You're not bright. Tu shines pas comme l'artiste qu'ils écoutent au State, qui lui, wow, il y a tout un film derrière lui and everything. You're just one of those artists that not gonna sell an album at the end of the year and gonna get a grant. So il faut qu'on switch ça pour que nous aussi on soit comme qu'on devienne, qu'on se prenne, comme il disait tantôt, il faut que tous les soirs tu te couches et que tu te dises I am the one that's gonna bring this light. Je dois être unique. Je dois être cette personne-là. Tu dois le faire sentir à la ville. Like now, there's artists that are blowing in United States. Like il y a Queb qui fait des moves, il y a Animée qui fait des moves, même si ils sont dans des trucs bizarres. Mais ils ont créé ce truc dans leur quartier. Ils viennent de Saint-Léonard et Saint-Léonard les voit comme des... Exact. And that bring them power when they went elsewhere. Et ça, c'est big. C'est ça, être un artiste. C'est pas juste être signed dans un label. C'est pas juste recevoir l'argent pour faire ton album. Tu dois le faire. Comme il y a de l'argent, va le chercher. C'est pas ça que je dis. Il y a des subs, va les chercher. Mais toi, dans ton marketing, you have to understand that tu dois le vendre, cet album. Tu peux pas juste prendre l'argent, faire un album, puis attendre que ton label fasse les moves. Ils le feront pas. Ils ont pas à le faire. They just received the grant and they did their job. They're paying their salaries and that's it. So you have to move. You have to create that energy around you. Tu dois créer cette envie que les gens disent t'es comme Burna Boy. Quand Burna Boy vient dans la ville, il n'y a personne de Montréal comme artiste dans le VIP section de Burna Boy. Mais si Burna Boy va en Angleterre, clairement Dave va être là. Clairement Central C va être là. Tu comprends? Moi, quand j'ai fait la première partie de Tiakola, il n'y avait personne de Montréal en backstage. Comment ça se fait que Loud n'était pas là? Comment ça se fait que White... No, but it's important to say.
Because no, they don't care because it's not, they're not in the culture. I'm sorry, but they're not in the culture. There's another ecosystem, there's another culture going on here, so there isn't that liaison. I know we have a question, I want to get to that.
Hi, so I'm a transplant, I guess, from Montreal. So I'm from Ottawa, Ontario. So je dirais que c'est comme... No, honestly, a really good slow clap for Ottawa. Non, c'est vrai. Les Franco-Ontariens, they carry that on their back. But I would say that as like a city that qui est comme bilingue officiellement, even there, I went to French high school, I went to French university, elementary school. I wasn't receiving Quebec Hip-Hop and R&B. Like the most that you received was like Alors on danse, and they were running that shit up at all your dances. That's all they were playing. They would play Stromae, but like I guess so. My question is basically now that I live here, and it's like, you know, listening to music aficionados and like hearing how passionate you guys are about it. How would you say that someone should start their like leur éducation hip-hop / R&B Quebec? Like where do we begin? Like literally R&B, Quebec or R&B hip-hop for dummies. Where am I going? Where do I want to see it? Who do I listen to? Because it's obviously also harder, I would say, like as a little asterisk on this, it's like, you know, people don't listen to the radio anymore, unfortunately.
The radio is not part of the culture.
Exactly, so it's not there.
La radio, ça fait pas partie de la culture ici.
And unless you're like searching for it like actively or you really know where to go, it's not, my Spotify isn't recommending a Quebecer artist. It's gonna recommend another Kendrick Lamar song, which I appreciate. But of course, if you want to gain that, yeah, like, so how are you, I guess, yeah, what, this question is like basically.
Je voulais juste te répondre à une chose. Au niveau des radios, ok, c'est très important. Pourquoi les radios embarquent pas du hip-hop, embarquent pas du R&B, disons pas assez? C'est tout simplement qu'ils ont peur de perdre leurs auditeurs actuels. C'est ça le problème. Ils ne veulent pas changer de format. Quand tu t'assois chez Énergie, chez Rouge, chez quoi que ce soit, tu leur demandes leur format, c'est rare qu'ils peuvent te répondre ce qu'ils ont, mais ils savent ce qu'ils ne veulent pas perdre. Le problème, il est là, tu vois.
Mais est-ce que c'est vraiment un problème? Parce qu'à the end of the day, c'est comme les radios, ils n'ont pas à faire ça. Les radios, ils suivent la tendance. Ils ne font pas la tendance.
Oui, mais ils avaient avant un rôle de découvrabilité.
Non, je veux dire, ils suivent. Ils suivent. They're not groundbreaking. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm going to tell you what they follow. They're following the publicités qui sont là sur la radio.
That's what I mean.
Si GM est sur la radio, je vais mettre la musique que GM va faire que les clients qui vont acheter du GM. Si Buick est sur ma radio, je vais faire la musique que Buick peut vendre. They don't listen to tendance. Bro, la seule musique afro qu'ils ont mis depuis les 10 dernières années, c'est Toutes les femmes savent danser de Loud. Et quand il était passé à Tout le monde en parle, on lui avait posé la question, ça veut dire que tu vas accepter plus de... Oh, nous, on accepte la bonne musique. J'ai jamais entendu d'afro à la radio depuis ce temps-là. C'est pas leur objectif. So the radio will not be the place you should find music from here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll
So where is it then?
You want to take the
Ouais,
mic?
mais
Take the mic?
Oui, mais il y a quelques radios comme ça, indépendantes, qui vont le jouer, mais les gros réseaux, ils vont pas embarquer. Ouais, mais le problème, il est là. Ça veut dire que les artistes, ils ont besoin de Sirius aujourd'hui, qui est le diffuseur de cette musique-là. Mais de toute façon, je pense pas que c'est le problème.
Mais moi, j'ai une question. OK. Where do you go to discover artists in general? Like, how do you discover an artist?
I mean, I guess right now, though, it's basically like...
Word to mouth.
It's definitely word of mouth. It's unfortunately the like, oh, someone who posted an Instagram story and it's like, oh, I like that song in the background. Like, I really want to hear that.
So
it's definitely coming to me. Unfortunately, I'm not like, as the average listener, I don't think people are seeking.
Right.
But if they want to, I don't even necessarily think they have the recourse to. Like, I don't think people, let me speak for myself. I don't know where to begin if I want to find.
You could begin with like David Campana.
Nice to meet you.
You know what I'm saying? No, really, like I'm like Sha Frank, an amazing R&B artist.
But I mean,
you know
not on an individual level. I mean, like
no. Well, it's just like I feel like putting names out there and like talking about these people, like talking about us, basically. It's like it starts conversations. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important to like mention people and like tag them or have their music.
Word
like
of mouth is always good.
Word of mouth is the most powerful thing. It's honestly, it's super powerful.
Mais tu sais, est-ce que like is there any people here that really seek music nowadays?
Yeah.
Or you just open Spotify and they brought it to you? That's the thing too. You open TikTok and they brought it to you. So je pense que like you don't really have to seek us. We have to reach you. You understand what I mean? Like as an artist, my job is to reach you. Like, even if I give you my name, you don't have, t'es pas obligé d'aller listen to me. You will listen to me when I will reach your heart.
Excusez-moi, désolé, malheureusement, on a un problème de temps, des contraintes de temps.
Yeah, for sure.
Donc, on va malheureusement prendre seulement 2 questions. Donc, j'en ai une de Vladimir Delva
I think
et
there was
puis
one
une
down.
autre d'une personne ici.
There was one down here. You're waiting for a while.
Ouais, lui, ça fait extrêmement longtemps. Puis, il est 8h30. On avait la
Oh,
salle
we've been
jusqu'à
talking
8
for a
heures.
while.
All right.
Donc, c'est un peu la situation qu'on a présentement.
For sure.
I just wanted to just say something. The problem that a lot of artists are suffering from right now and having a tough time reaching people is because the different forms of medium are slowly becoming destroyed. And look at it like a fridge. When you have a fridge that's full and you're hungry, you typically don't know what you want to eat. You're confused. Maybe I'll eat a bit of this. Maybe I'll go to what I normally eat all the time. Or maybe I'll just have a bit of everything. Or maybe I just won't have anything at all. But if there's 3 things in the fridge and you're hungry, you're going to believe you're going to take one of those 3 things. The oversaturation of music and the way that's being presented has opened up a Pandora box, a plethora of music, to the point that it's hard for people to focus on one particular artist. So you got to truly be a standout or have some sort of divineness about you in order to get you. It doesn't even necessarily come down, obviously it'll come down to your music and your lyrics once you've been chosen. So a lot of people are lining up and a lot of people are realizing maybe I'm not the chosen one. Some will say, hell no, I'm going to continue until I truly feel deep in my heart that that's not the way. If you're going to do music or you're going to go and look for people, there's ways of finding it. But again, at one time in your life, you could have turned on CKUT, you would have heard what's going on. You could have turned in the Montreal Mirror, you would have knew what was going on. You would have turned into Voir magazine, you would have read it, you would have known what was going on. You would have picked up a flyer from your local record store, you would have knew what was going on. You would have came outside of a club, you would have knew. Where you going to go now? You're going to go to a restaurant? You're going to stand outside of a restaurant, wait for somebody to hand out at where? La Belle Le Bouffe? Like, come on, like, what's up? It's done, man. The reality of it is that you exist in a society now that is very hard to figure out what is the key to success. The number one key for me in all my years is to believe in yourself that you have something to say. Whether it's musically, vocally, believe in it. Whether you're talking to one or talking to many. And the minute that you lose focus of that and you become preoccupied at chasing a ghost, you will ultimately continue to chase the ghost forever. So you have to set standards.
Yep.
And now this is like real knowledge for some of you out here that have been doing what you've been doing and want to pursue this. And if you're a fan of the music, seek it out, because now it's harder now to figure out. Every day I'm bombarded with new artists. I don't even bother. Honestly, it's gotten to a point with me, if you're not 99 or before, the year 99 or before, I'm not even really fucking with you.
That's crazy.
Because
that's crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No, but the reason why is because it's too much music.
You're right.
I go to SoundCloud, I go here, I go there.
Hey, you know what
I go to Apple Music. I'm overwhelmed. I gotta hire my daughter and my son, and they're like, Daddy, don't do that artist. Yeah. You're gonna get killed on that. I'm like, okay, baby, I'm not gonna do it. Daddy, did I tell you, Daddy, not to do that artist? Okay, baby, I didn't realize you're right. I'm not gonna. I'm going to listen to you from now on, whatever you say. Okay, Daddy. And they tell me.
Well, I mean,
imagine.
it's I'm going to reel it in. That's what I'm going to do. Absolutely.
Ricky D
two
for
questions.
president, ladies and gentlemen.
2 questions. One question there. Go.
Yeah, en fait, moi, j'avais comme un constat sur la scène actuelle concernant, mettons, la scène hip-hop du moment. Parce que, mettons, si je regarde il y a 20 ans passés, il y avait plus de portes que je trouve qui étaient fermées. Puis actuellement, je trouve qu'il y a plus de portes ouvertes, que ce soit pour les artistes commerciaux comme qui jouent beaucoup à la radio, ou bien d'autres qui développent actuellement leur niche. Je sais que tantôt on avait parlé, on disait qu'il n'y avait pas une réceptivité en Europe, mais il y a beaucoup d'artistes locaux actuellement qui commencent à développer leur niche en Europe. Si on prend des exemples comme les WOJ, il y a Animée aussi qui est en Europe, il y a certains membres aussi du 514 que de temps en temps ils y vont. Il y avait même à la Claire ensemble, je pense, qui avait été. Puis je pense qu'actuellement, c'est comme il y a beaucoup d'artistes qui développent vraiment leur niche, leur public, puis il y a beaucoup d'écoute, il y a beaucoup de jeunes qui écoutent les artistes locaux. Fait que comparativement à il y a de cela 20, 25 ans, il y a beaucoup de monde qui supporte les artistes locaux. C'est probablement au niveau des radios, il y a comme une fermeture, mais je pense qu'il y a une génération qui s'en va, inévitablement. Puis je pense qu'éventuellement, ces jeunes-là qui ont fort public, qui les supportent, ils vont éventuellement passer en radio. Parce que même le modèle de la radio, c'est vrai, c'est là, mais c'est comme un peu révolu, là. Fait qu'il y a d'autres manières de se faire entendre, notamment. Et puis, concernant les salles de spectacle aussi, je pense qu'il y a une grande réussite parce qu'il y a 20 ans passés, c'était impossible pour un artiste local de faire le Club Soda sold out. La semaine passée, je pense qu'il y a White Bee qui avait fait quasiment sold out. Là, il y a Roger qui s'en vient dans 2-3 semaines qui risque d'être sold out aussi. Puis, il y a d'autres salles comme le MTLUS qui est sold out. Puis, je pense qu'éventuellement, là, c'est un moment, ça va être peut-être dans une couple d'années, là, on aura peut-être un artiste local qui va faire peut-être le Centre Bell au complet. Fait que je pense qu'il...
I mean, Loud did it, right?
Ouais, il l'a fait. Ben, ce que je veux dire, je pense que il avait fait...
Yeah, I mean, like...
Il a fait une partie, c'est une partie.
Ouais, c'était quand même une grosse partie.
C'est une grosse partie. Mais ce que je veux dire, c'est comme ça risque d'être...
Ouais. Vincent,
je vais terminer.
Real quick.
Juste pour te dire, avec la France, là, ça va prendre juste du temps.
Pas vraiment, parce qu'il y a déjà du monde sur le terrain.
Mais regarde, le problème en France, on le connaît, c'est quand tu vas signer chez Sony ou quoi que ce soit, si l'artiste n'est pas sur place, c'est difficile pour la promo. C'est plus long à développer.
Mais il y en a qui sont sur place.
Oui, mais ça va être plus long à développer. Nima, oui, tu as donné des exemples.
Il y a aussi le roi Enoch aussi.
Oui, il y en a plusieurs qui sont déjà là-bas. Mais il y a une chose qui va faciliter les choses, qui va accélérer les choses, c'est les collaborations avec des artistes en France. Ça va énormément aider.
100%.
Parce qu'ils vont être présents, ils vont les faire venir, ils vont être là sur les tournées d'été. 100%.
100%. Very good. On va aller à la dernière question ici. You take that mic. Right here.
Donc, c'est la dernière question. On a des excellentes questions.
Oh, ben,
OK, donc on fait lui puis elle.
OK, les deux, c'est je sais pas. Somebody, ask a question, please.
C'est pas une question, c'est plutôt un statement.
Okay.
J'ai un peu l'impression, et je reviens sur ce que j'ai dit tout à l'heure, que la ville, elle est un peu schizophrène. Elle n'arrive pas à voir c'est quoi sa propre identité. C'est comme s'il y avait genre un brouillard sur Montréal. Et si tu habites à NDG, tu vas connaître NDG, tu vas connaître les 2-3 quartiers que tu fréquentes. Mais Montréal, c'est tellement fucking plus grand que ça. Tous les fucking quartiers sont incroyables. Il y a des gens incroyables partout. Et moi, ça me fait chier que toutes ces personnes-là, elles ne soient pas connectées. Parce que vous êtes tous spéciaux. Vous êtes tous tellement... Anyway, voilà, c'était un statement. Merci.
Wow, that's a big statement. Wow, I thought you just left. He's like, I'm out. Can we have une main d'applaudissement for our panelists, please? Je pense que, I think if we can talk for hours on this thing, puis on peut parler pendant des heures et des heures parce que there's a lot to be said. However, our time is brief. I have a statement for you guys. Did you know that, and I'm just going to shamelessly plug myself, my album is coming out tomorrow. We did the damn thing. So if you want to know where to discover an artist, we're having a show at the Ministère on the 15th, which is next Saturday too. It's going to be amazing. It's about culture, it's about community. We did the damn thing, you know what I'm saying? Focus, I didn't see. Focus is opening up for the show. Absolutely. A big round of applause for La Maison de la Culture Côte des Neiges for having us here. And a round of applause for Marvin Clairvaux for his exhibit. And a big thank you to Yuri and Hit Story for putting this all together, my guy. Thank you guys so much for even coming here to have this conversation. I feel like that just means that you guys are willing and open and wanting, to be not part of the culture, but like bringing up the culture forward. You know what I'm saying? So, my Instagram is open. We can continue this conversation. If you want to check out David's music, Shaw Frank, Mike Shab, all these names, Naya Ali, you know what I'm saying? We're here. We're the culture. You know what I'm saying? And that's not going to change. Thank you.